Walters. It's good to have you here,
Hello.
man.
Yeah, thank you.
Good
Thanks
to
for having
finally
me.
meet in person.
Yeah, it
Feels like we
is.
have already, but
I
haven't.
feel like I know you so well.
I know, man. Likewise. So if you don't mind, maybe just do a quick intro about who you are and what you've been doing for the last 13 years.
Sure. Yeah, Noxgear is about 11 years old now. Started with Simon back in 2013 officially, but we had been working on the products for years before that, and we're both engineers by degree. So I'm mechanical master's degree and undergrad in mechanical and manufacturing, all in Ohio. Good schools here in Ohio. So yeah, we worked together and we came up with this idea for the what ultimately became the LED running vest, the Tracer, and we designed it, sourced it, sold it on Kickstarter initially, and then launched the e-commerce business after that, and the rest is history.
The rest
So
is history, yeah.
yeah,
So you started out in the aerospace industry,
yep,
correct, at Moog?
yep.
So maybe talk me through how you go from working on airplanes or, extremely intense engineering designs to
Yeah.
to LED vests.
Yeah, you're right. That is intense. And that's a great. That was my first job out of school, and it was, highly technical,
Yeah.
big organization, really important work. Keeping planes in the air, basically, and looking back on it, it was a great foundation for everything that we did after that. So Simon and I met up pretty quickly after I started working there, and got into some R&D efforts around vibration suppression on helicopters, prognostics and health monitoring. These were like, pretty technically advanced efforts within the aerospace world, aside from, what they were making in flight controls. So, yeah, we just kind of had this itch of like pushing the bounds and understanding things and solving real problems with the cutting edge technology that was out there. And so that was, highly technical engineering work. But then after hours, we were playing ultimate frisbee with our friends or just hanging out.
Uh-huh.
And I don't know, somehow Simon and I stumbled on this idea that we were going to create a product and create a company around it. We really wanted to jump outside of the normal bounds of the engineering work. And we were very on the same page on that front. So we explored some things and then stumbled onto the concept for the LED vest by we were playing ultimate frisbee. We started doing it at night, playing at night with the fellas and the ladies from work, and it was like, glow sticks aren't really great for this. So what are we gonna do? Let's
Yeah.
let's make our own thing. So that's what we did. We pieced together. It was binder clips, duct tape, some soldering, and some fiber optic cable stuff, and we taped it to our shirts and had that first game, and it was like, it was so, looking back on it, so crazy. It's just everyone was into it. People were stopping to watch, and at the time, it wasn't like, oh, we're going to build a whole company off of this. It
Yeah.
was just kind of like, this is cool. We made something. This could be it. And so then
Yeah.
we stuck on that idea and ultimately drove it to the product that we have today and the company we have today. So
So cool. Such a cool
yeah,
origin story. I think it was Naval Ravikant that said, don't build a business unless someone's asking you to build a business.
yeah,
And so it's like you guys found a need as opposed to just like jumping into something that was totally random.
yeah. We
Yeah.
and we still have these conversations today where it's we want to solve real problems, and it's easy to kind of throw a product together that seems like it's good and seems like it addresses a need, and
Yeah.
you can slap it together and sell it. But we're really trying to go the different route of slow and methodical, and really try to solve
Yeah.
people's problems. Yeah.
That's awesome. So it seems like you have this bent towards hands-on work, where you're actually just like jumping in and getting your hands dirty,
Yeah.
which is a little bit different, I would imagine, from, doing these robust algorithms on planes for the defense industry. So
Yeah.
where does that come from? Is that something you've always had or?
Yeah, I think uh, going into school, it was like engineering or actually graphic design was
Oh,
the
okay.
other. I put a portfolio together and did the
Nice.
whole thing, and almost went that route. And then I think it was just I had a affinity to math, science, physics,
Yeah.
and I thought, and I like to get my hands dirty. I grew up in small town Ohio, so there was
Yeah.
a lot of like working on the farm. Like I
Oh,
did
nice.
baling hay in the
Yep.
summers and rode my bike a few miles. Like thinking back on, I'm like, no, I can't do that now. Riding your bike 5 miles and 12 years old and baling hay and stuff. So yeah, I think I had this natural affinity for that kind of work. My dad was worked maintenance at the steel plant in
Okay.
Middletown, Ohio, so he was very much like, I don't let anybody fix my stuff. I'll fix my stuff. Yeah, so that came pretty
Yeah.
naturally. And then once we started to prototype and build the product, it's like you don't have a lot of money. We have the capability to do this. Like just get out in the garage and do the work. I was making my own plastic parts and molds. Simon was soldering and making
Mm.
prototype circuit boards himself, and you learn so much doing that, about the product, about the decisions you're going to have to make down the road, technical decisions to make the product better or make it cheaper or whatever. And so that hands-on work was just invaluable for what became the rest of the
Yeah.
the rest of our story.
No doubt. It's probably helpful when you start manufacturing this stuff outside of, the garage. When
Yeah,
you're actually working with contract manufacturers, it's
yeah,
probably super useful
yeah.
to
That
know how
was,
everything comes together.
yeah, big learning curve there. To easy to make a handful of products, prototypes, but then to transition it to making thousands of units, tens of thousands of units with quality, with repeatability. Yeah, a lot of respect for the people that do that, and that was a big part of our growth, was figuring all that out.
Yeah, no doubt. So coming back to the origin, so you made these vests, out of duct tape and
Yeah.
soldering pieces together. How did you go from that to, you know, quitting your job to do that full time?
Yeah, I think it was uh I think it was just a good alignment of events. So like I had met my future wife, she was back in Ohio. The the concept had come far enough along where it's like, yeah, this technology exists. We can put this together. I think there's something here. And but in the end, it's still a big leap to go to your boss and say, I'm putting in my 2 weeks. I'm out of here. That was tough. But it felt like the right time
Yeah.
to take that leap. And I think the prototype at that point was far enough along that that it made it a little bit easier. And as looking back on it too, it's like there was a pretty good confluence of events where we had developed a product that was very different than anything else that was out there. It was leveraging powered illumination versus just reflectivity.
Mm.
We started to study the visual science of it and could work that into the multicolor modes that we were programming. And also, I mean, this is 2012. It's weird to think back now, but that was fairly early cell phone days. And so more and more people are getting cell phones, more and more people are driving with cell phones, more and more people are distracted while they're driving. And I think that we had a product that met that market concern where people are like, yeah, this is different. This is more dangerous than it used to be because everyone is staring at their phone while they're driving. And I think that resonated. And so, looking back on, I can put it together like a real good story as to why
Yeah.
I took the leap. But certainly back then, it was like, hey,
Yeah.
now or never. Let's
Right.
do it.
Yeah. And so you guys crowdfunded a lot of the beginning stages. Is that right? You had a
Yeah.
Kickstarter campaign.
Hmm.
How did that come about? Was that an easy decision to be like, oh, we need to do Kickstarter, or how
Yeah.
did you decide to crowdfund the?
Yeah, I guess to us it was just this path of least resistance,
Mm,
and that was still at the time when Kickstarter was early, and it seemed more authentic than I
yeah.
think it ultimately became. So, um, yeah, we had already put in a lot of money, and we knew we were going to continue to put in a good chunk of our money, but this was what seemed like the quickest path to validation in the market to
Yep.
essentially pre-sell some units and get some funding to
Mm,
pay for that initial round of manufacturing. And that's we looking back on it again, I give us some credit. We forecasted that pretty well. The costs involved, I mean, it's not, there's no rule book, playbook to do that. So you're
Right.
just kind of using the engineering background,
Yeah.
putting in the legwork to talk to the suppliers and the people that are going to drive the costs ultimately on you. So yeah, I think we forecasted that well. Used the money to build the units, pay for the units, and got off to the races.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So when you were in those beginning stages, did you have any mentors or anyone that was maybe a few steps ahead of you guys that were helping you with some of these early decisions, or is it just
I wish.
yeah?
Yeah. I think that's, if I could go back and give myself advice or anyone starting out now advice, it's like try to build that network
Mm,
early. And it's hard because there's only so much time in the day and you're trying to develop a product,
yeah.
uh, figure out manufacturing, figure out how you're going to sell it. Like there's many, many facets, of course, to making the business work. And so to then go, well, you also need to seek mentors, and it's tough. But I think we underinvested in that early on, and uh, at the time it seems like, hey, I'm just going to make this product, I'm going to make the company work. But if you're in it for the long haul, I think those relationships pay off. That early investment in time and developing those will pay off down the road. So no, short answer is we didn't have a lot of input at that
Yeah.
time, and I wish we had. But it's also, you figure things out then.
Yeah.
You figure it out your own way, which um, has its ups and downs too, pluses and minuses.
Yeah. The lessons you learn the hard way typically stick with you the longest, I've
Yeah,
found. So even
yeah,
though you can shortcut some of those learnings, you're never going to forget the stuff that you know, did the hard way.
that's right. Yeah, I think Simon has always been this way, and I've aligned with him more over the years on this, where it's like the struggle is the reason that you do
Yeah.
well ultimately. Like it prepares you for bigger struggles down the road, and you learn so much in that process that you need to survive. And so probably if you're coasting and it's feeling easy, then something's wrong.
Yeah. Or something will be wrong
Something will
very
be
soon.
wrong. Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, the obstacle is the way.
The
Very,
obstacle is the
very
way.
stoic. Yeah, I
Yep.
love that. So, what have you learned about yourself, like on this 11-year journey of getting Noxgear off the ground and into this, 8-figure business? And
Yeah,
it's,
that's a great question. I was thinking of that actually today coming in for this. It's like one thing this process will do to you is really like test you to your core, and you find out where your strengths and weaknesses lie. So I think that's like the big picture is you really, uh, those things are just borne out, what you're good at, what you're not good at. Um, so yeah, I think strengths for me is I'm pretty focused and pretty practical when it comes to approaching a problem or a business problem. And um, the one thing I think I've gotten better at over the years is um, not dancing around an issue and just getting to it, and being able to have really open conversations with Simon and anyone else that's involved. Um, because yeah, I found that it's easier to do the dance sometimes, and but it never gets you anywhere. So the ability to do it in a way that's respectful, civil. You're not cutting anybody down or trying to be rude about it, but you know probably there's a core like one, two, three questions that need to be answered to make a decision one way or the other, and trying to get to those as efficiently as
yeah,
possible is helpful. But there's a little bit of a downside there where, again, back to the relationships, like people are different.
yeah,
They might be rubbed the wrong way. So I think I've gotten better at navigating that,
mm,
like trying to cut to the chase and have those frank conversations in a respectful way that
sure,
that accounts for their personality and the way they approach their work. So, but it's a tricky
yeah,
thing.
definitely is. Yeah, we can cut this out later if we need to, but that's one of the things that I've personally like going from engineer to my own business stuff and more of a management role within companies. It's like those hard conversations never get easier, but you just learn to jump into them no matter
Yeah.
how hard they are. And one hard part about it is, like you said, the relationship part. Like I feel like I've changed in that way, and I've taken it home in some ways, and it doesn't necessarily translate to to solving problems with your wife
Yeah.
as it does to solving, a dispute between two people that report to you, So yeah, it's been tricky to navigate for sure, but yeah,
Yeah.
it's interesting. Has there been anything you've done to help navigate those kind of the family business intermingling
Yeah.
issues?
There's ups and downsides, of course. There's a little
Yeah,
bit more flexibility than your regular type of job, but then the job never ends,
right.
so that's the other tough part about it. I think I just have a great wife, honestly, in the end. That's understanding, and in same way, like we're open with each other
Hmm.
about um, when she's feeling like the business is pulling me too much,
Yeah,
or if I feel like home life is pulling me too much. And so I think, yeah, the way that you solve that is a solid partnership and a good partner, and I think I have that. So
that's awesome.
yeah, hopefully she hears this.
We'll keep it
Yeah,
in. um, everyone when they see a company that's successful like Noxgear, you see the best parts, and you see the results, which is success, but you don't necessarily see the failures or the hard parts. But a lot of times that can be what shapes us and the business.
yeah,
So is there any of those types of failures that you come to mind, they're most present, that help shape you and Noxgear
yeah,
the way it is today?
yeah. We're 12, 13 people, some part time, and some contractors. So yeah, we're a small company in Columbus, Ohio, and every day we're grinding to try and make it all work, and really at the end trying to serve the customer the best way that we can.
Mm.
Um, and that happens through new product development, through supporting and making sure the products that we've got out there are of good quality, and we're making improvements to them, and listening to people's feedback. And shipment doesn't make it on time, or just those everyday customer service things that we really try to put a lot of emphasis on. Um, Let me think here. There was something. What was the original question you asked? There was
Favorite
something.
failures, essentially.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So I think the classic Knox gear um, trouble scenario that I think of is, this was probably 17 or 18, and this was operated out of the garage still. Like UPS would come pick up and drop off from the garage at the house, and we had a fair amount of inventory in, because this was leading into the fall, the big season for our LED products. And we found an issue, just crazy confluence of events that resulted in the product where, if you sold it, I don't know that everyone would have experienced this problem. The lights would kind of go in and out, but it was very temperamental to the way the battery was put in, and all kinds of
Okay.
stuff. So it's like, we know we have this problem, but there's, how much are people really going to notice it? So there's this conversation going on about what are we going to do. And at the end, we decided that we would form an assembly line in the garage. This would be me, Simon, some friends of ours, some early employees, and assembly line rework, thousands of units. And it
Wow.
involved taking them out of the box, using a Dremel tool, like to take off some coating that was on top of the battery terminals. Very weird problem.
Gee whiz.
But we did that, thousands and thousands of units, and got them shipped, ready to ship back out, and made the season. So I think that's us having a problem and just jumping in to solve it in service of the customer,
Yeah.
to make the product what it should be. And so many lessons learned from that around product quality and quality checks, and how you do your best to try and guess what's going to go wrong. But man, that one was a weird one. That one was a really strange quirk in the product build. So
Yeah. Well, that's a testament to how y'all have built this business, though. I mean, I feel like that's enough work that a lot of people, probably the majority of people, wouldn't have taken the time to do that.
yeah,
That's
I think so.
That's how you build a sustainable business. You know,
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
good
I think it
quality.
speaks to our commitment to do the hard things in service of the customer, even when they, in the end, they don't see that, you know. So that's what you said. Like from the outside looking in, looks everything looks
Yeah.
cool, and but it's like a duck sitting on the water, and the legs underneath are churning.
Right. Kind of to that point, um, how do you balance? You talked about new products, you know, customer feedback, you know, that whole cycle. How do you balance the need for continuous innovation with the practical aspects of running a business that's already selling tons of units?
Yeah, it's tough, and as I mentioned, we've got a small team, which makes
Yeah.
it even more difficult. I think it's at the highest level, it's just a daily management of the issues of the day. So we're always
Mm.
trying to develop new products, and we've got a few that are in different stages now. And so there's that work from a design point of view that myself and Simon are having to manage from the owner perspective. And then another example is now we're working on a new version of the speaker, and we're trying to make some improvements there. That's also work for the design team. So it's
Yeah.
this, daily kind of priority management. And I think the way that we've been able to succeed with such a small team is that ability to uh, task manage, project manage, and always try to sit there and go, what is the thing that's going to bite us later on, and try to avoid that as best as possible. I think it's can get easy to go,
Right.
yeah, decision made, let's move forward, and there's definitely a lot of value in that, like call it tendency to act or whatever the phrase is, but sometimes you can just take a few minutes and go, all right, blank slate, what's going to bite us here, and find things that you can work around
Yeah.
later. And we're not perfect at that. I can give you probably two examples top of mind where we didn't do that in the last year, and we're dealing with it now. But that's the constant
Yeah.
process of trying to get better.
So you strike me as the kind of person that has a bias for action. Has that take a beat? Let's take a look at this situation. Has that whole process been something you've had to learn, or is that something that you kind of innately?
I think it's the other way for
Oh,
me.
okay.
Yeah, I think historically, and Simon's brought this to my attention before. I'm an engineer, so I'm like, let's look at all of the data, and I think it's been, back to your question about what I've gotten better at, or things I need to work on. That's one that I'm constantly trying to work on, and it can be tough.
Yeah.
But I think it was actually a podcast where Jeff Bezos was talking about this. It's like if the decision is such that you can uh, revert back or change it
Yeah.
pretty quickly down the road, then it's much less risk. Like just go
Just do it.
and learn that way. And then if it's not that, if you can look down the road and go, this actually has implications
Mm.
as we go, big ones, then you take a pause.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think a lot of my internal um, conversations I have with myself are about, are you exerting your bias to action here, and
Mm.
tendency to push ahead. And I think I've gotten better at that. One thing that definitely helps with that is just kind of overloading yourself with work. And I think that's, some might look at that as kind of a bad thing to do, but I think to some degree it's good, it's helpful, it forces
Mm.
you to say, I'm just going to make this decision. Like all these
Yeah.
100 decisions that I have to make in a day,
Yeah.
it gives me that push to do that. So I think that's a good thing.
Yeah. I do too. It's actually something it's kind of been ruminating in the back of my mind for a while. It's just like this. I tend to, because I've noticed the same thing about myself, is when I'm swamped, that's when I'm the most productive. and,
Yeah,
and for one thing is that it necessitates the need to work on the right things, because you can very easily just do busy work and that'll fill up all your time.
yeah,
So you have to pick the right things to work on. But I think of it as like kind of like, how a gas will expand to fill the room it's in. I think the amount of work that you put on your plate will, you know, you'll get it done if you have work ethic. So it's just like the
yeah.
more you do, the more you'll more effective you'll be. So
Yeah, I think that I think all that is right. And then the other thing is when you act and you move and you stumble and make mistakes, you learn so much more from
yeah,
that versus sitting there and mapping it all out and thinking of every contingency. And certainly there are cases where you need to do that when the stakes are high enough that
yeah,
you need to. But most decisions are not that way,
right,
and they're the ones that you can pivot from or pivot away from pretty easily, and you
yeah,
just move. So there's like this. There's the benefit that you get from that mindset to just act and get things done, but there's also you just learn more that way.
yeah, absolutely. It's certainly the way I learn the most. Anyway, is just trying something. If it doesn't work, you
Hmm.
know what not to do next time.
Yeah, but it can
Yeah,
be hard, and
yeah,
I'm, for me, it can be hard because failure is not fun.
yeah.
It's
No, it's not.
most people don't enjoy it, but it's like when you look at it as a necessary
Yeah,
part of the process to
yeah,
fail and learn from that, and just get completely comfortable with that. And I think that's
mm,
again something that I've developed over the years to really, like, I cannot be embarrassed anymore. I cannot ask a question where I feel like I've asked a dumb question. I've
yeah,
just completely shedded all of that. And so I'm unfazed by any of it. And I think that's a superpower you can develop
yeah.
if you get to that
That's
you get to
definitely
that
a
point.
superpower. Yeah, it's that's some huge personal growth in my opinion. I've kind of had the same thing. And I liken it to being in the gym. I remember the first time I went to the gym was Planet Fitness, but I remember even in Planet Fitness, the free weight section was like so intimidating. It's like, oh man, I can't even go over there. That's where the serious people are, you know.
Yeah.
But what I realized is like if you want to look like those guys, you have to start somewhere. You know, everybody starts somewhere, and
Mhm.
so you can't be embarrassed or afraid of being in that starting place. And one thing that I've noticed among really successful people is that like you said, it's not there. Like that feeling is not there. Like they're not afraid to look dumb
Yeah.
because everybody looks dumb at first. You just have to get the reps in and get through it. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
huge. So
Yeah.
powerful.
And even things that, at this point, someone would go, "You don't know that yet?" And I'll say, "Nah, I actually don't.
Yeah.
Sorry. I need a refresher."
Yeah, there's no shame in it.
Yeah.
It's that's how you learn the most. Because if you act like you know everything, like people will assume, and you'll get to a spot where
Yeah.
it all comes out in the wash. So
Yeah.
if you rip the band-aid off and just be like, I don't know, that's the
Yeah.
path.
And I think from a position of leadership, there's, I guess, a couple ways you can look at it. Like, well, if you're going to do that, then you kind of look like an incompetent leader, maybe to some
Yeah.
degree. But I think that it it's a good example for anybody
Hmm.
that's working with you to see that and go, oh, I can be candid too. Because the worst thing is to kind of hide something and not bring it up and discuss it and hope that it's going to get better, and then it actually is a really big problem later
Yeah.
on. So that's kind of that secondary effects of a culture where you're closed off and you're worried to make a mistake. And
Yeah.
that's something we've really tried to push this year or last couple years. Really, it's like giving people the freedom, like, go ahead and make a mistake,
Mm.
as long as you do it with good intentions and you do it professionally and
Yeah.
with civility and all that. Go ahead, make a mistake, and I do it too, and it's all good.
I think that's a sign of a healthy culture. When you get to the point where people are afraid to even try to do anything, that's the sign that you're stagnant at best, and
Yeah.
culture's dying at the worst. How Speaking of culture and company culture, is that something y'all have been intentional about? Well, you said in the last year you've been doing things like that, but is that something you've been intentional about from the very start? Is
I think that's something we've learned over
mm,
time.
okay.
This kind of ties in with building that network early on. I think we probably could have pushed to do more hiring early on
Mm,
to expand the team, start to distribute the responsibilities a bit more. Eventually, we had to. We got
yeah.
grown to the point where we had to do it. But then, yeah. So now you've got this group of 5, then 10, then 15 people, and you it's like, yeah, here we are. We're like a little bit of a family. It's a business, but we're small, so it's feels very family esque at times, but how do you give people the latitude to make mistakes and train them? And so yeah, I think that's the culture building and just thinking about that is something that we've learned, and then the hard way sometimes, because
Yeah.
if you don't if you ignore it or don't make it a priority, it will bite you at
Sure.
some point, and there's value for the reasons we already talked about in making that making the culture work, hiring people that fit it,
Yeah,
and allowing that to be part of your engine of growth.
definitely. Yeah, that's it's kind of oft overlooked, I think, within a lot of businesses is just like what even is culture, but it's just so important. And I think a lot of it, in my experience, most of it starts at the top. It's just like, what do the people, the leaders do?
Hmm.
And that seems to trickle down. That seems to be one of the most powerful ways to build a culture.
Yeah, recently we put it in writing, which I think was helpful.
Oh,
And we
cool.
had the managers at the company involved in that process. Like, what are our core principles that we operate on? And I think that was an amazing step to take, because writing it down forces you to, like, yeah, decide on it.
Yeah,
It's not just in your head as to what it is. There
makes
it
it
is,
real.
and it's agreed on. But it's also, at any given time, you can look at that and go, are we holding to this?
Hmm.
And it's just a helpful reminder in those moments in the day where it's tough, or you're trying to decide A and B, and it's like,
Yeah,
is this what we set out to do?
yeah.
It's helpful.
It's a good compass for sure.
Hmm.
Yeah. I'm gonna switch gears just a little bit. So you're a mechanical engineer by trade, grew up on the farm, doing hands-on work, yeah, doing all this intentional, robust engineering work. And it seems like you're doing a lot of marketing now. So how is that? How does that background in engineering kind of show up in the work that you do as a marketer
I'm
now?
gonna get some water real
Yeah,
quick.
for sure.
Can I take a quick break? Or just need a sip? That's a great question. I love it. Oh yeah, sure. How's everything look so far? Okay, good. This is where I have my hot mic moment. Say something weird. Yeah. Yeah. My recent obsession for some reason is public restroom, automatic faucets and soap dispensers, and paper towel dispensers. I don't know.
Yeah.
I guess because it's been the summer, we've been traveling, and I'm like, this is all wrong. This was all wrong. Everything about the public restroom experience, especially with kids, it adds a layer of
Oh yeah,
complexity.
doubt.
I'm like, this is just so wrong. Um, why is the bag in the soap dispenser, why is it so small? It's like it runs out in 20 squirts, but yeah, you have like hundreds of people anyway.
Right.
Anybody that's uh, around me, I'm now talking to them about.
Sounds like an
It could-
opportunity, man.
It could be
Disrupt
Noxgear's, yeah,
the
next
public
venture.
restroom
Everything's wrong about it. It's crazy.
sanitation industry.
Do you want me to just pick it up from your question? Or
Yeah.
you wanna...
Yeah, if you don't mind, I can restate it if you want me to.
No, I think I got it. So, yeah, engineering background, and then thrown into e-commerce,
Yeah.
digital marketing in 2014. This was very early days of Facebook ads, so I don't know. I think I've almost been doing it since the beginning. There, so a long journey with a lot of learning, and things change obviously quickly in that space, and so keeping up with that and trying to decide what of that is important and what of it doesn't really matter for the way we run the company it's an ongoing challenge. I'm trying to find someone now to help me in that role and take
Yeah.
over the responsibilities of our e-commerce and digital marketing efforts. There's an element of it that is data oriented and logical, which has come more natural, like the ability to understand where the data is coming from, how it's collected, what it means, how certain signals might matter for the ultimate outcome, which is sales and growth of sales and profitability. So I think that came more naturally, and we've got a pretty solid foundation on that. Simon was very influential in this, but we have a file now it's updated every 15 minutes, but it's a picture of the daily sales, ad spend, sales profitability, and it's a daily capture that's updated every 15 minutes. And so, especially on big sale days, it's very helpful to guide. We just had Prime Day, and so it's really helpful to guide minute by minute or hour by hour decisions, yeah, which is great.
Yeah.
So that's the kind of technical side of it, and I think that's been natural. The soft side of it, which is you've got these products you're developing that you think they solve. You've tried to solve these problems for your customer base, and how you communicate those, how you find and introduce your brand and those products to new people. That's been much more of a challenge, I would say, in rolling that out. But it's again, you do it and you learn from it. And so from the beginning, I was clicking the buttons and making it. I learned how to do image editing, video editing, how to run the ads, the knobs and the settings that you have in there on how to run them, how to look at them. I don't know where I'm at on the range of like digital marketers on the planet, but I can have a conversation with anybody at any level because I've been doing it so long. So that's been helpful. I think the challenge now is to, as I'm trying to transition to more of executive role or leadership and trying to get out of the day to day. It's hard. I like it.
Yeah.
I like the challenge, but I need some help there for sure.
Yeah, it probably ties into your graphic design background.
Yeah.
It kind of harkens back to those.
Yeah, I
those
think
days.
I was probably glad to jump in image editing and Photoshop and figure all that out. But yeah, it's helped, I think, now because I'm not making the images anymore, but you're able to go, oh, these fonts are different sizes. Like this looks weird. And you can pick apart an image pretty well to clean it up and make it presentable to the public. So those instincts as to like, yeah, this video, the way this video is cut together. We've done a lot of video shoots, photo shoots, and again, we're very DIY, so we put together our own photo shoots and shot lists, and I think just going through all of that, it just puts you, it gives you this toolbox and the ability to look at something and go, there's some problems there that need to be fixed or not. So, and if you were to have handed that off way early on, you don't get that level of insight, and then it kind of hurts you down the road. So I think we've been maybe to a fault, but more we've invested a lot in DIY over the years for these things, and I like to think that it's a net positive in the end.
Yeah, I think for the reasons you mentioned, it's net positive. I think there's a separate benefit, which is like you've got to find out other things that you enjoy doing, and like kind of more of what's your superpowers. A lot of people don't discover that, just because you're forced into this whole gamut of different skills and actions you have to take running a business.
Yeah, one of the upsides, I guess, of starting your own business is, well, you want to do that, you can do that. Nobody's stopping you.
Right.
So, yeah.
Yeah, no reason not to. Lost my train of thought there. Got taken down a different route. So
one more thing I'd add to that is, recently I think I've gotten better at trying to stay up to date on the digital marketing industry, commerce industry, because it changes fast. And Wednesday at noon.
Okay.
Oh, we're good.
Cool.
Yeah, things change quickly, and I think probably in the old days it was like, I'm doing this, I know what I'm doing, I'll be fine. But I've seen the value now in trying to spend some time paying attention to the industry,
Mm,
who the thought leaders are in that industry, and
yeah.
taking that into account. Doesn't mean you do what they do, but these are the, if someone's out there running a couple hundred million a day in ad spend on Facebook, I'd like to believe they've got something to contribute
Got
to the
some insights.
conversation. So again, not taking it and running with it, but using that as input to the day-to-day
Yeah.
priorities of our marketing efforts.
Is that your primary way of staying on top of these like algorithm changes or just industry trends? Is different creators or people in that niche?
Yeah, I think there's a couple ad agencies and
Yeah.
digital marketing experts that are out there that I've that I think are legitimate and contributing to the conversation. The thing with marketing that's always the tough deal is it's easy to talk about it. It's hard to actually do it and
Yeah.
do it well. So you gotta. I think over the years my meter to
BS meter.
BS meter has gotten better. But yeah, there's people that I follow and
Yeah.
to try and stay up to date on that.
Cool. You mentioned iterating on customer feedback. What's some of the I want to say surprising, but what's some of the most unexpected customer feedback you've received that was
Mm.
helpful or not so helpful?
Um, I think it's been a while since I've seen this one, but I remember from the early days a suggestion of doing a solar powered LED vest, and I thought I love any idea to put on the table, but you do use it at night, so it might be a little tough. I think there's been, uh, if I think about the speaker, that's probably been the one that's driven the most engagement, because you've got this group of people that'll see it and go, I don't want to hear your music. And I understand. I don't
Yeah.
want to hear your music either, but the design of it was such that it's open ear, but it's still personal
Mm,
music, and you don't have to blast it. I
yeah.
always think if you want to be a jerk and blast your music, you're gonna do that, no matter what speaker you're using.
Yeah.
So just be respectful. Um, yeah, I'm trying to think of any other good product suggestion. We get them quite frequently. I love seeing them. I think that's, our customers are a great group of people, and they're very engaged with the brand. They get to know us over the years, and the people. Again, we're small, so they get to know some of the names, and I love it when they feel like, yeah, I can send this in and it's going to be considered. I mentioned this before. I used to do these customer calls,
Yeah.
and I should get back to it. I do it every week. Talk to a few customers, and they would often give suggestions. I remember one woman. I think she was in Kentucky. She was a motorcycle rider, and she's like, "You gotta make a lighted helmet." Or maybe it was a intercom system for the helmet. I'd have to go back and review my notes on that one. But I would write those ideas down, and when we go back in and decide what we're going to work on next, it's great to read through that stuff and get some inspiration. Because again, if you're trying to solve people's problems, and they're willing to tell you what those are and make suggestions for how to solve them, then you got to pay attention to that stuff. So
Definitely.
yeah.
I would imagine that's invaluable. A couple different directions. I'll go with this one. You've said, I've heard you say in the past that caring trumps everything else, and passion will always win over talent or a pile of money. So after years, 11 years working on Noxgear, how do you keep that excitement or passion alive as because some of it can be a slog, I know.
Yeah.
But how do you maintain that balance? Because it
Yeah.
seems like you're very engaged in the work you're doing on a day to day. So
Yeah, I think that's a great question. I think for anybody that's starting out or has been an entrepreneur a few times and been doing it a while, it's like it's not glamorous in any way, and anytime you see an article that's overnight success, or it seems like someone got there easy, it's just not. It's
yeah,
not
it's
not
not reality.
reality. So, yeah, I think the culture helps. I think having people around that are uh, happy to engage in the problems of the day, because what else are you doing on any given day other than trying to solve a problem and work through issues? So being able to do that with a culture of openness and candor and focus on the problem and nothing else, I think helps to invigorate the process. I credit Simon with always having great ideas to keep us on our toes as far as product development.
Yeah.
Just oddball things that you could try out. It's like, here we are, a small company, but we've got capability now to develop probably any product you can come up with. And so, doing some goofy things and just trying stuff out at the office is helps keep people engaged.
Yeah.
And I think the writing down the core values, we also don't ask me to repeat it, but we developed a mission statement and a vision statement. It's like that's helpful too, because what are you doing here every day if not trying to serve this mission and
Yeah.
serve the customers that you've had and the ones that you hope to gain down the road. I think that's, for me personally, that's the thing that really helps is like I'll just go in sometimes and look at some of the orders we got. And I'm like, oh, Mary and Camden, Ohio. I'll throw out my hometown. Like, hey, Mary's got her stuff, and hopefully she likes it, and
Yeah.
and it's helping her to walk around in the morning and feel more safe, and like letting that stuff come in and actively seeking it is, and having that come in, having the vision kind of statement written out, and just trying to keep those things in mind on a day-to-day basis. Because if you don't, then you just kind of wander down this path of like, oh, okay, I'll solve this problem, but I don't really know why I'm doing
Right.
it exactly. And
Yeah.
I think that's another thing that's come around for me over the years. That was not in my nature starting out. It was kind of, I'm an engineer, give me a problem, I'll solve it.
Yeah.
Why am I solving it? Well,
I don't know, but it's gonna be solved.
I don't know. I'm gonna solve it. I'll
Yeah.
dig all
Right.
day until I find the solution. So, yeah, that's kind of the human element, the small business and our customer community side of things that's been grown organically, but it's so valuable and gives a lot of what am I trying to say, positive feedback for me to know that we're
Yeah.
doing good things.
No doubt. It's also a testament to picking the right problem, like early on.
Yeah.
Something that you guys were doing. Like you would have done that for free and probably not even started a business around it, given different circumstances, but it was something that you were a community you were active in.
Yeah.
I think that's important if you want a business with legs.
Yeah.
Anyway. Yeah. So cool. What's some of the best advice you've ever received? Could be at any point in your life, but that's helped shape get to where you are today.
I wish I had a crisp like this moment where I got this advice, but I think what comes top of mind is having worked with Simon all these years and his ability to um, take take a problem and push through it. And so I don't know if there's advice in there, but it's the obstacle is the way. It's like
Yeah.
this is what brings value ultimately from the process, both personal fulfillment, like what are you going to do with your life type of thought, as well as you're trying to build a healthy business. So I think his over the years nudging and conversations we've had about facing those obstacles and pushing through. It seems like, oh, geez, why do we do this? Do something else, but that is the value in the end, is that struggle and to push through. So, yeah, again, I wish I had a really great answer for that, but we over the years we've done this a lot on our own without outside input, which is I wish we would have had it, but it's like we didn't, and we just powered through. So
Made it work.
Yeah.
That's great. I saw this sign one time. It was when I was a kid. My dad thought it was really funny, so it stuck with me. But it was on the billboard. It said, "We'll treat you like family here, but come anyway." So,
Yeah.
but there's a lot of truth in the people that you spend the most time with. You know, it's not always sunshine and rainbows. But it seems like you and Simon, you know, you've had this relationship, but you probably see Simon even more than your family in a lot of cases. But you guys seem to still have this good relationship, productive relationship. What's your guys' secret to making it work? Because I can't imagine it's always easy.
No, no, it's definitely not. And I think anybody that gets into this game starts
Yeah.
a company with, I would recommend, starting a company with other people and not on your own, but everybody's situation's different. But it does come with issues that, yeah, you have to work through. So I think what's made it work, just painful honesty with each other. Like sometimes
Yeah.
it's tough to say certain things, but you do it. We try to meet monthly or every couple of months just to go. Let's just talk about it. What's going on, and free ourselves from the day-to-day conversations that need to happen. So that was actually, speaking of advice, that was advice we got way
Okay.
back in the day to meet like that, and I think it's been
Yeah.
really helpful. But you can get together, that's one thing, but you got to be willing to speak your mind. And this is actually something we wrote into the core values, but it's like assume good intent. Like I think it's really easy, and maybe this is a personal flaw of mine, where it's like, oh, you take things personally, like, um, but assume good intent, and so then you go into these conversations that he and I have had, and try to be open, assume good intent, and you try to break through, and
Yeah.
uh, and that's again, the struggle builds a relationship.
Definitely.
You find out these things about each other, and you have these conversations where you really get on the same page. Like,
Yeah.
whatever that page is, like the lowest low page and core to
You'll
your
get to it eventually.
human condition, like you get on that same page. So
I love that assume good intent. One of my core values has always been assume nothing, but because I think back to probably 99% of any personal conflicts I've ever had have been stemming from either myself assuming something that wasn't true or someone else assuming something
yeah,
wasn't true. But I like assume good intent better because that's I think that gets you on the right side
yeah.
of whatever it is.
From a kind of cultural personal perspective, I think that's a great one. From a product development point of view, we talk about assumptions a lot
Yeah.
because it's kind of easy. You kind of get in your way of thinking, and you're making these assumptions without even realizing it. So I think one of our like tenets around product development is, what assumptions are you making, and which of those are worthy of further investigation and testing. So we just had a meeting yesterday where it's, again, working on the speaker. It's like, well, what are we assuming here, that it's
Yeah.
going to work or function one way or the other, and tried to, the tough part is some assumptions don't matter ultimately, some really
Yeah.
will, and trying to pick those apart. But I think that's the technical background and the experience where you gain the ability to say, yeah, this matters, this will
Right.
matter, this won't.
Yeah, I think it's core to falling in love with the problem and not the solution,
Yeah.
which is tough for us engineer types that,
Mhm.
you get the first hint of, hey, this could work, and then you just go all in, but
Yeah.
you could be going 180 degrees
Yeah.
different from where you should.
Develop the problem statement really well, and
Yeah.
always come back to it,
Right.
to make sure that it was defined correctly, and that you're solving it,
Yep.
that you're truly solving it. Yeah, that's I think so essential to innovative products, because
Right.
again, it'd be easy to make, take something that's already out there and make it a little bit better maybe, but to really come up with something new that solves a legitimate problem is it's a tough thing.
Yeah, it is. And it's another good reason for a mission statement too, because you can
Yeah.
extrapolate that into your whole direction, I think.
Yeah.
I'll ask a couple of different questions and we can wrap up. Um, as far as the kind of the future of wearable technology, do you have any predictions or feel for where that industry is going? Any trends that you see coming down the pike?
I think notable would be the recent AI wearables that have come out, or handhelds, I guess,
Right.
more broadly. I think that something will come of that. Meta has their glasses. There's
Mm-hmm.
other AR glasses out there. There was the Humane Pen,
Yeah.
the Rabbit, you know,
Yeah.
that people know about. I think that, well, I guess we've proven in a way with the speaker that people will clip something else onto themselves if it provides some value.
Right.
So I think we're kind of well positioned in that sense that we've been doing it for a few years, and yeah, it's a Bluetooth speaker, but it's got its uh, technical capabilities, and I
Mhm.
think pushing that into the future, I think we're well suited to do that. But again, and this is, as we talk about AI, this is a common theme. It's like, what problem are you really solving?
Yeah. Yeah.
Because it's cool. There's no doubt about it. It's a very cool technology, and the possibilities are endless. But yeah, what are you really solving there? So I think that's what we're focused on now, wearable and AI, and
Cool.
we will stay on that mission for sure. Whether it results in something or not, we're gonna keep pushing.
What is one piece of technology that you personally can't live without? What's something that you use all the time?
Man, I think outside of my phone and computer, I don't know what I would point to. I think about that often. It's like, what
Yeah.
are the real game changer technologies that have come about?
Hmm.
I just recently started to wear a smartwatch, and I think, it's all right.
Yeah.
It's basically a digital watch for me
Right.
that counts my steps. So, yeah, there's a host of, Google Sheets. I love. I'm an engineer. I love Google Sheets. So there's some um,
Yeah.
cloud-based stuff that we use quite a bit at work, but that's another area where it's there's a lot out there, and there's a lot that can seem like they're solving a problem, but really they make the problem worse, whether it's communication or product development, and
Sure.
the logistics that go on between managing people and teams and in these efforts. So yeah, the one I like a lot is I play guitar, so the guitar tuner that works automatically. You just put it on the tuning pegs and you pluck the string, and it
Oh, never
automatically.
tried that.
Yeah, I feel like that's one where I think that was actually a Kickstarter, and
Okay.
back in the day, and they've since grown. But it's like, hey, that's
Huh.
tuning a guitar is a pain.
Yeah.
I have one. I used to use tuning fork.
Hmm.
Um,
Old
but this
school.
is way better.
Yeah,
You just put it on there, and
for sure.
yeah,
Huh.
yeah.
Because I saw the Gibson guitars that they had a guitar that was like built into it, but I didn't know that there was an actual mechanism that you could just kind of sit on top of the tuner and it would do it.
Yeah, it's just like a handheld thing with a
Oh, that's cool.
element that'll grab onto the tuning pegs, and you pluck the
Nice.
string. There's an app that goes with it. Yeah, pluck the string, it automatically tunes the
Sweet.
string for you. I'm like, hey, there we go.
Heck yeah. That's awesome.
Yep.
If they just made something that would change your strings for you, like
Oh, now,
I
now
hate
you're
changing
talking.
strings.
Now you're talking.
Yeah. Cool, man. Well, I think that's probably a good spot to wrap up. But
Okay.
appreciate you taking the time and
Yeah,
had a really good time talking to
Yeah.
you, man.
appreciate it. Thank you
Thanks.
so much.
Yeah. That's a wrap.